Hey y'all, welcome to I Got a Story to Tell. I'm your host, Niambi Kiesha, holistic wellness practitioner, hoodoo spiritist, and Bronx native. And during our time together, I will share some of my musings on all things life, spirit, plants, and parenting. So get comfortable and let's dive right in. So, welcome back to another week of the I Got a Story to Tell podcast. I'm your host, Niambi Kiesha, and I am excited to be joined this week with our special guest, Ty Pressley. Welcome, Ty.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us. So this week we're gonna just jump right in. I was thinking about what did I want to talk about this week, and a few things that have been coming up for me lately is around how do I show up as my true, authentic self. There are some things that are going on astrologically that are indicating a shift in dynamics. And so it led me to reflect. And I really did some reflecting on the last 7 years of my life. And in that reflection, I've shared this with people. The version of me that existed 7 years ago essentially no longer exists. And
Mm,
it was a journey. It was step by step, day by day, moment by moment decisions. It wasn't always easy, but when I look back on it, I honestly can't imagine living any other way than I
mm,
live now.
yeah.
I was asked the question, what does personal freedom or what did personal freedom mean to me 7 years ago? And honestly, I would not have even used that language. I wasn't in community or environments where that language was used. So I wasn't even aware that there was another level of experience, freedom that I could have and that I could show up truly as Niambi. So
Yeah.
I wanted to come on and discuss that. And when I was thinking about guests, I said, I have to have Ty. So, um, Ty, I'll let you share your story. But again, like I said, I we are internet friends, not internet,
For
social
internet
media
buzz.
friends, but
Yeah.
really real life. Our background. We met a few years back during Triple P when I was working with the county. But then it has evolved, and we've had interactions and exchanges and connections. And so I've watched your story and seen it unfold over the time that I've known you. And I just really feel that you are a excellent example of living out loud, authentically, unapologetically as yourself. So
Yeah.
just chime in and tell us your
Yeah.
story or what your thoughts are about that.
Yeah. I loved your opening in regards to just allowing yourself to evolve. I actually posted that on my story last night before I went to bed. I was like, thinking about this quote that I saw online, and it was talking, and I said, allow yourself, it's okay, give yourself permission to evolve in your thinking. Sometimes we can get so stuck thinking that we have to, if I made this decision to think this way, I can't change it later on, because what are they going to think? Am I wrong? Like, we think we're a hypocrite, and it's not a contradiction, and then you're not being a hypocrite. At least I don't see myself as ever have been a hypocrite for at one point in my journey believing one way, and then now being a different version of myself where I believe something different. It's just an evolution, and I allow myself to lean into it as I go. And so it does make me say, okay, when I have a thought, just be curious about it, as opposed to saying, this is my thought, I'm stuck here, I'm gonna judge you based on here. No, I'm still just curious about learning, because what I believe is that we learn every day we go. We learn every single day. And if we're learning every day, that means we're changing every day, which means that things that we think, the things that we believe, and then the things that we do also evolve and change as we go through life. So, but in regards to my journey, whew, how much time do you have? I'll give you the short version.
Okay.
So I come from a family. that was really sedentary. At least my immediate family, mom, dad, siblings, all very sedentary in regards to not really being active in sports, kind of eating Southern food, that type of thing. My parents are from down south. And so I grew up that way as well. And so when I went to college, I didn't really know how to eat. And so I got the freshman 15 turned into the freshman 30. And before I left college, I was like 100 pounds bigger than I was going into college. So I was like 304 pounds. And then I was fine.
Right.
I was fine. I was living my life, 300 and something pounds, just fine. And so I wasn't struggling. Some people say, well, were you struggling with weight all your life? No, I wasn't struggling. I was okay with it for quite some time. And then when I had my son, he's about to be 14. My doctor said that, my actually on the inside, I needed to do some work because my cholesterol was high, I had high blood pressure, all those things. And she said, I want to put you on medication. I was like, oh, no, you're not. And I said, well, I'll change without the medication. And so I decided to try to lose weight. So now I'm in the struggle, so to speak. And so I made a commitment to lose 126 pounds. And then I lost it. I lost 126 pounds, but then my father passed away. And then I gained all the weight plus some back, and I decided to have weight loss surgery after realizing that I wasn't able to do this on my own. And so I lost lots and lots and lots of weight over and over and over again. But what I found out was that a part of my journey was being an emotional eater. So I had to also address that part of me. So this is all an evolution. And so I'm kind of speaking about this in like this 1 minute, 2 minute time period. But this was like 10, 15, my son is about to be 14. So this is a 14-year period that we're talking about. And on that journey, what I've noticed is that my family was still who they were. They were still very sedentary, still not really into eating healthy, not reading food labels. And I shifted. And now I'm into health and fitness and eating healthy. I actually became vegan because during this journey, I found out that there was a tumor growing inside of me. So I had to get the tumor removed, thought it was cancer, all those things. So I said, you know what? I'm going to eat vegan. I was into fitness. I started running. I started doing triathlon. I started doing all the things, even weightlifting, became a bodybuilder, but they weren't. And so when you say, how do you do that and be authentic to yourself? I think the first step is really, or the first part of it is really getting clear on your why. Like, why are you doing the thing that you do and getting really clear on your values? I don't think that I could have lasted this long or even started on my journey had I not decided that I value life, I value health, and I want to be here for my kids and actually live a life that is healthy and vital with them. I want to be able to run with them. I want to do all the things. And so that was really part of my value setting. To be honest, a part of it was also I just wanted to go shopping. That was a part of it too. But those were the values that got me going, which then showed up in how I interacted with my community. Because at that point, my family was my community. And so my family was my community. So what does that mean? I want to, not be eating fried chicken when I go home to my mom's house and my dad's house. I want to not go out to eat every time we go out. And so what does that mean? Now I have to make different decisions. And so I had to, number one, be okay with saying, I made this decision for me based on my values. And it is okay if you did not make the decision for you. Those are your values. And I'm not going to hold you accountable for my values. And I'm not going to allow, also not going to allow your values to kind of wreck my decision, so to speak. And so, how did that show up? That means that if we went out to eat, sometimes I was okay with bringing my food. Sometimes I said, I'm not going out to eat. Sometimes I said, if we're celebrating, I don't want to celebrate around food. Instead of going out to eat, let's go hiking. I invited them along in my journey. And then eventually, Niambi, to be honest, they was like, look, I'm not here for it. Some of them came along
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes they were not here for it. I remember one time my mom actually, she went swimming with me for my birthday celebration. I had a pool, we went swimming and all that kind of things. And that meant so much to me that they would be a part of it, even though it wasn't their journey. But it allowed me to show up and be who I was. But then eventually I got to a place where I had to develop a bigger community for myself. And that bigger community meant joining organizations like Black Girls Run, who introduced me to this whole lifestyle that I didn't even know existed. And I didn't know I was actually capable of running and swimming and doing all the things that I do now. I didn't know I was capable of it. But had I not stepped out and broadened horizons, I would not have known.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so that was really instrumental in me kind of setting the tone for my life and for the way that I show up in the world.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I know, like you said, you shared all this in a few minutes, but this has been a long journey over 14 years. And a few things that you said that resonated with me. One, the piece about allowing yourself to evolve. And I did see the post that you shared. And I think that is so important because, like you said, when we don't, we want to hold ourselves to something that we no longer believe, or it's almost like it becomes this internal tug of war because there's a part of you that is evolving and believes something different. And now, are you struggling? Are you, stifling your growth for fear of judgment, or am I a hypocrite? And I think what that leads into is also thinking about, well, how have I held somebody else to the fire, right? So we have to
Exactly.
realize what we do to others, we're doing to ourselves, right?
Mhm.
So allowing ourselves to evolve, allowing others to evolve, not jump in to point out what somebody said before, because then when that pendulum swings the other way, we want to receive the same grace for our evolution.
Yeah. And not
Interesting.
only
Yeah.
that, Niambi, but one of the things, all of what you said, also for me, I felt like at times that I was abandoning myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I'll give you an example. Like a part of my journey has been losing weight, but also it has evolved into losing fat, which is different than losing weight. And in my culture, in my community, my family, fat is actually valuable, especially if you hold the fat in particular areas, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you have a small waist and a big old butt, in
Right.
my community, that's actually valuable. And so now that I'm evolving and my new values say, well, it's okay to have fat, and that's beautiful. But also, what about reducing the fat to be healthy?
Mm-hmm.
What about, because in bodybuilding, you have to present a package. It is a particular look, and fat is not a part of that look, right? And so, I actually cried when I got to the realization that, God, now I have to let go of more fat. Like it's not just weight, I have to let go of the fat, which I identify with really, really strongly because I'm this Black, beautiful woman,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? That everyone, like I have the shape that everyone likes, right? So what now does it mean for me to get rid of that? And so
Mm-hmm.
it's like really not tying my identity to fat, to
Mm-hmm.
size. And it's so interesting because this kind of goes back to values. What do you value?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that's a part of it too, in regards to, am I abandoning myself now? Because I did see myself, the way that I carry my shape, all of that, I saw that as my identity. So now am I abandoning that version of me or that part of me because I'm now wanting to lose fat now? And who am I going to be when I get to the other side of this?
Mm-hmm.
And a part of it had to be with in regards to me saying to myself and giving myself permission and knowing that, wait a minute, that is not you. Like the way that this is just a shell. This is just my body.
Mm-hmm.
It is not who I am. So whether or not I'm on a bodybuilding stage with 15% body fat or like my current 30%, 30 something percent body fat, I am still Tysha. And that doesn't change because of what the body looks like. Does that make sense?
It
But there was a struggle in thinking that, God, I don't even know who I'm gonna be after this.
the identity, and that's what I hear you saying, whether we use language like the versions of me, but also your identity. And it's the piece of, we actually have to allow ourselves to grieve that, right? Because identity, who we have been for a long time, we are shifting out of that,
Mhm.
and it will come with heavy emotions and feelings and questioning. um and I guess that brings me to the next piece that I would like you to talk about, because you said you would not have been able to walk this walk without knowing your why and your values, your integrity, right? Everything that I hear you saying, I'm thinking to myself, it's mental work, it's thought work, it's mental
Mhm.
shifting. So how did you strengthen up your mental fortitude? Because even as you were walking this walk, and like you said, some of your family members were for it, some of them weren't. Like every time that that happens, it is a reminder of the person that you are releasing. It could be a very emotional experience every time, it can be triggering every time. So sometimes we talk about these really large concepts and experiences that we've walked through, like you said, over 14 years, without really making it clear that this thing, I hit up against this thing time and time and time again. So how do you, where does your reserves come from to dig deep and keep pressing forward?
Yeah. And so, again, it's been so long, and I think I want to bring it back to just the moment,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because again, there were times where, they want to go out, okay, I'm going to go out. And then I come home and I feel bad about it because I get on the scale the next day and look, I'm not a scale girly, but I was at the time. I've evolved into not being a scale girly, right? But I think it came with being in the moment and allowing myself to experience the moment and seeing how it felt to me.
Mm,
And if it did not feel good to me, asking myself why. Well, what didn't feel good about that? And then if it didn't feel good and I identify why didn't it feel good, then also going and say, well, what can I do to honor myself in this moment to make it feel the way that I would like it to feel? And it usually went back to me just allowing myself and giving myself permission to be all that I say that I want to be. So that means if I'm hitting up against the wall where they don't want to go out to me, okay, go out with me to eat, then I'm gonna go out by myself. And that's fine. Or I'm going to find a friend that wants to go out, and instead of going out to eat, we go to the gym. Like I have friends now that we just go out to the gym, and that's our date,
mm-hmm.
right? And that's okay. But how do I do that? I do that by recognizing that this is my decision and I cannot hold them to my decision. It's my decision. And then allow myself to live with that choice by stating what my boundary is in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the more I did that, the more they started to say, okay, she's serious about this.
Right.
Like she is serious about this. And they don't even ask anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They
Because they
don't
can
even,
respect
they
the
know
decision, right?
because I
Even if
made the
they
decision.
don't have to be a party to it, but you have stayed the course, you have showed your consistency, and now
Mhm.
it's like, okay, well, at a minimum, I'm gonna honor where she is. I know she's not the same way they
She is
weren't
not.
checking for you with that. They know Ty is not checking for us with this, and that's a
Mhm.
form of just mutual respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes, there are levels of decisions, right, that we make. Like sometimes you have to look at what level of decision did I make? And we have to kind of say, okay, did I make a quality decision? And if I made this quality decision, how is it showing up in my life? Because every time you make a decision, there's a corresponding action that
Mm-hmm.
happens. And so if you haven't made the decision, you have to look back and ask yourself, okay, well, have I really made it? What type of or what quality of a decision did I make? And if you didn't, then you have to go back and revisit your values and make a different decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
And
here, I want to also say this too, is that sometimes we think that once we make a decision, that's it. But you have to really recommit to your decision like every day.
hmm that's
You have
where
to
I was going.
recommit.
Yeah, when you
Yes.
said, is it a quality decision? Revisit it. That's, to me, that's all tying into the evolution as well, right?
Mhm.
It's not a make a decision, drop it in the bucket, life is going to change. You
Mhm.
revisit it to make sure it's quality and it's the right decision. And then you revisit it to reaffirm yourself about why you're doing it, right? Um, and that was something else that I was thinking about when you were saying I would have this experience and then the next day I wouldn't feel good. So I had to remind myself what I wanted for myself. And I know
Mhm.
sometimes when we are headed someplace, we might, like you said, we might not know exactly what the new version will look like. We might not know exactly what the experience was. I know for me, what I started doing during my transition was making sure that I identified the small wins, that I
Mhm.
identified the wins, whether you wanted to call it wins, but that I identified moments when I was feeling how I imagined I wanted to feel
Yeah,
and stayed in that long enough for my body to remember it, because our
I do
bodies
that so much.
remember the shame, our bodies remember the judgment, our bodies remember the bad, right? But sometimes we also have to, when we do good, when we feel excitement about whatever the decision was that we made, learn how to stamp that in our
Hmm.
memory as well, and
Hmm.
then allow that to be what we come back to
Hmm.
reassure us when we start to bump up against the hard times or just the questioning, right? Because the other thing is the decision that you made, it's a lifelong decision, right?
Hmm.
So sometimes you might bump up against, like, am I going to do this forever? Like, I'm
Yeah.
never you know. So how do you, continue to see where you're going, create, I'm sorry, something got in my eye,
Hmm.
see where you're going and create a visual image of that. Allow your body, when we talk about the law of attraction, the law of attraction talks about the fact that what comes back to us is the energy that we are giving out, not
Yeah.
what we say verbally, but how are we vibrating. And the
Yeah.
more often that we can vibrate in a feeling of joy,
That's good.
excitement, accomplishment, we get more of those experiences. So we have to
That's
learn
so
how
good.
to stamp that in our
Yeah.
memory.
Yeah, that is absolutely on point. And I call it sitting in the good. That's what I call it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, and I teach that to a lot of I'm a therapist. I teach that to my clients as well, to sit in the good as much as you sit in the bad. We're still in the bad,
Yep.
right?
Right.
And so it is very important for our brain to sit in the good, right? And so the way that I do that, Niambi, is that literally every week, I call it re-upping on my motivation. And so there'll be like maybe a Saturday. So I have an account that I use just for my fitness stuff. And so I post my accountability. I follow people that are kind of in alignment with what my vision is for my body, or things that I might be struggling with and I'm trying to kind of input or adopt. I follow those types of accounts so that I can get that messaging into my system on a regular basis. And so this particular account I've had for the full, actually 15 years. And that's kind of where what I do. Like every week, I'll actually revisit things that I post, or I'll just revisit other people's pages, and I call it feeding I feed my motivation, and in feeding my motivation, it looks like me just kind of getting back in alignment with my values. Every single week, I do that. And that helps me to kind of, I guess, strengthen myself and strengthen my resolve for the following week.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that way, I'm not thinking, am I doing this for the rest of my life? Because right now, I'm just doing it for right now. And so right meaning in the moment, I'm doing it in this moment. And hopefully the next moment I'll be doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it literally is moment by moment. I'm not thinking about 15 years from now. And it's so funny that you say that, because there was a time in my journey that I did think about, am I going to have to do this forever? Or I would think about, well, but what if I fail? I was really afraid of fail, because I did have a really big, like I lost 126 pounds and then gained it plus more back. And so I looked at myself as a failure. And so in that time, I was really afraid to even start again, because I was judging the journey and afraid that, well, what if I don't do, what if I can't, right? And so so that helped me to learn that that didn't feel good to me, to be thinking so long term. And so I think that's why I had to shift to, okay, well, let me just stay in the moment right now. And if I stay in the moment well enough, I'll learn every skill that I need to learn. I'll learn every behavior that I need to learn. And I call this all a practice. I will practice the person that I need to be so that I can be really good at her
Mm-hmm.
and it, so that the next moment will be, I'll be really good at the next moment because I practice and become strong in who I am, who the other girl is. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I
Mm-hmm.
believe that everything that we experience is kind of a culmination of everything that's come before it. And so
Mm-hmm.
you can't really be good at tomorrow if you don't really practice being good at today. And so
Mm.
I try to really, really stay in the moment. And I think that that prepares me for tomorrow. And so I don't really, my commitment is my values. But again, I want to just share that I'm really curious and flexible on this too. Can I give you an example? I never thought I would have weight loss surgery. Like I was anti weight loss surgery. I was anti any surgery. I was anti plastic surgery. And guess what? 14, 15 years later, I've had weight loss surgery
Mm-hmm.
and I've had plastic surgery. These are all things that I always was really like adamant that nope, never. And why? Because I've evolved. I've evolved in the way that I'm thinking. And even with the plastic surgery, I'm like, well, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you believe that if you have clothes that are too big, that you should go get them taken in? Or should you just walk around in clothes that are too big? You know? And if you believe that tailors are okay for clothing, then if you're walking around, because I have a lot of loose skin, had and still have some loose skin, then why is it not okay for you to let go of the skin that you no longer need? You can't do anything with it, and it's getting in the way. So even with that particular thing, I had to evolve my thinking because I was gotta be positive, gotta love this body,
Mm.
right? Even if I'm looking in the mirror and saying, but this kind of bothers me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I don't want to have all this loose skin. If the loose skin gets in the way, I get infections, I get irritated. Like it's okay to say, but this is not working for me. And if there's something that can be done to fix it or to make it work for you, why not? But even that, for me, and I'm not saying go get surgery, I'm just telling you about my journey. For me, that was an evolution because I was really like, but that means I don't like myself. But it doesn't because there are people that get surgery and still don't like themselves.
Right.
Liking yourself, loving yourself, accepting yourself, embracing yourself, that comes from within. All of that comes from within. There's nothing external about it. It may be because what happens on the inside shows on the outside, right? But still, it was for me an evolution because I thought that if I got surgery, then it means that I don't like myself
Right.
when it's not true. I love myself. I embrace myself. It took me a long time to embrace this. It's so funny because I had to learn to embrace it before I can get rid of it, which is weird
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because it took me a couple of years to actually say it's okay and to wear it. I would do videos and, all the things. My sister actually taught me this. I believe in exposure therapy,
Okay.
meaning that the thing that is the most troubling to you, like just start to slowly expose yourself to it to
Mm-hmm.
reduce the impact that it has on you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I began to do that with my body.
Right.
And that is what helped me to learn to embrace it. Just looking at it, admiring it, like talking kind to it.
Yeah.
That's what helped me to embrace it. And then after I embraced it, I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm done with you now. Bye.
Right.
And
Because
then I
then
was actually able to like let it go.
that's what I was going to say. Then it can be a healthy release, right? Like the
Yeah.
difference between a healthy release versus trying to, I don't know what the word is, but versus still feeling bad about it, ugly about it, and almost trying to like hide it or get rid of it
Yeah.
versus coming to grips with it or coming to peace with it and then setting it free, right? And
Yeah.
the idea of release, I talk about that with past experiences, with emotions, but we do first have to come face to face with them
Hmm.
Ask why, right? I love that you shared that you remain curious and ask why. Why did
Hmm.
I believe this? How did I get here? Was this even mine? What
Yeah.
maybe this belief was handed to me and I
Right.
get to decide. And sometimes you'll ask why and you'll remain where you are. Sometimes you'll ask why and you'll realize, like, oh, that applied then, or that applied to that version of me, or that was never really mine. So the
Hmm.
asking why. Um, but I
It's so
think the other
important.
thing that you shared to me that ties into the curiosity or just being able to open yourself up was when you found that you needed community, but organically the community that you had was not going to provide the support, the care that you desire. And so many of us in all stages of life, but when we are going through significant changes, sometimes who we have feels comfortable and safe. And I'm
Yeah.
already making these big changes over here, and I don't want to let any new people in. And this is my family, and I want the love from them, and I want it the way I imagined it. And it's realizing that people can only love, be in relationship to the level of their own capacity, but also to their choice. Like you said,
Yeah.
this was your choice.
It
This
was my
wasn't a
choice.
family choice. It wasn't a group decision. We didn't sit down and have a conversation. And
Hmm.
so often I find, and I found this for myself,
Hmm.
I'm a very I'm an interesting person because I can be out publicly, right? So I move with a level of confidence. I'm in a lot of forward facing dynamics, but internally, I like my peace, I like my solitude, and I like my circle, right?
Yes.
It's very
Yes.
close, like this.
Yes.
And I had to say, well, you have to make some choices because
Yeah.
either you're going to choose to stay cocooned in like this, or you're going to trust that you have a level of discernment that
Yeah.
you can go out, open yourself up to community. Because oftentimes we don't want to open ourselves up to community for fear of being hurt.
Yeah.
But if I
Yeah.
trust my discernment, if I trust that if this is not a good choice, then I don't have to stay here. But we have to realize there's so much love, there's so much compassion, there's so much care that is trying to make its way to us.
Absolutely.
And I'll give
Absolutely.
an example. After I went through my separation and my divorce and my mom passed, I was very much so by myself with my children,
Hmm.
living in my home for the first time with just these children. And all of my community, all of my support, my picking up of my children, my this and that was between my mother, my ex husband, or our family up north. So I did not have community here to support me in my parenting. And I had to one face my own judgment, right? That
Hmm.
I didn't want to have conversation with people about why I needed help and
Hmm.
what was I married and what was my last name before and what is my
Hmm.
last name now and
That's good.
all
Hmm.
of the nonsense. But I had to be honest with myself and let myself off the hook and release any shame that I had tied to that and acknowledge that I don't have to tell any parts of my story that I don't want to. So I'm going down a
Absolutely.
rabbit hole. I don't have to share that. But
You
there
don't.
are also so many people, and I found it in my neighbors, in my work colleagues, right? At the time, I was at the county, and I talk about my Triple P family all the time because
Hmm.
it was such a blessing for me to enter a space where my work was parenting education, but at work, my colleagues were triple Ping me
Yeah.
through
That's so good.
raising my children through
That's so
divorce
good.
and separation. But
Yeah.
I had to open myself up.
Yeah. I had a very similar experience, Niambi, because, I say that I'm doing all these things now, but this is years later, but in the beginning I was a beginner.
Right.
And so for me, you're talking about the shame and all that kind of things. For me, it was, but I'm new at this and I'm not really good. I'm doing things that I've never done. Like I really never really participated in sports. Like I was watching my sister when I was a kid. I maybe did volleyball for like a couple of days and I couldn't do it anymore. So I never was an athlete. I never did anything athletic. I never ate healthy. So all the things that that were required of me in this new stage of my life. I was new at, and it felt scary. It felt very intimidating. However, I found a tribe, just like you and your triple P tribe. Like I started just going. I was like 300 something pounds going to Black Girls Run, talking about I'm running. But I didn't start out running. I just started out walking. I started out walking, and they would wait for me. And
Mm.
why am I getting emotional? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I would go out on these runs, and they would literally, they have this policy or this motto, no woman left behind.
Mm. Mhm.
And if it took you 2 hours to walk 3 miles or however long the run was for, usually 3 miles, they would wait. They would wait, and then they would cheer you in.
Mm. Mhm.
And that felt so good. And so I would keep going back.
Right,
I
right.
would keep going back. Sometimes I bring my sister, my own biological sister. And then from that, they would introduce me to things. Hey, I did a triathlon, or I follow their page. They did a triathlon. I learned how to swim. You never swim in my life. But I'm a newbie. I'm gonna take a class, and I learned.
Mhm.
So I didn't start out being an expert. We start out being afraid. And what I like to say about it is that when we feel these feelings like fear and intimidation, like we call them. Remember, I'm not here for the toxic positivity, right? Meaning that we're supposed to always feel good. No, we're not. Like the holy feelings are the hard feelings too. Those are holy feelings.
Mhm.
And they're there to teach you something and to tell you something just as much as the happy, the joy, the excitement, right? But we like to run from those, from the sad, the harder ones. But they're sacred. And so if I lean into with curiosity, that whole curiosity word, if I lean into what am I afraid of? If I lean into that doesn't mean stop, right? It just means keep going, be cautious, keep going, get some support, keep going, So it is all about allowing yourself to be where you are, feel what you're feeling, and get the support that you need. Use your words to get your needs met. And so through that, that also helped me to evolve into, and I love it because you talked about sitting in the good. I love it because after every run, sitting in that good feeling of, man, I did that, something I never thought I could do. Every time I PR'd, which means got a personal record or a personal best, that felt good. So now I'm in this whole journey of aerial arts,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I feel like a badass.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I am such a newbie and I mess it up every time, but I feel so good.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it not with the goal of losing weight. I'm just doing it because it's fun. I enjoy it and I like how it feels. And
Mhm.
it's pleasurable to me. And so sometimes that evolution can come through just finding things that are pleasurable for you,
Yeah.
right? And then just leaning to it and just keep going with it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this has been amazing. I think we covered a lot of good topics. If there's anybody listening, is there anything that you wanted to share that we didn't touch on, or any way that you want to recap what we shared today?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is to trust yourself. Trust yourself and lean into your values. I think that's always the first step, is really sitting down with yourself and saying, okay, what's happening, right? What's happening right now? What do I want to be different? And connect a value to it. Because the value, more than the behavior, is what gives our brain the boost of dopamine,
Mm,
what helps our reward center. And so if you connect with values and do value consistent activities that help you along your journey, that's how you grow and develop and evolve.
yeah. Thank you. I would say for me, the things that stuck that I would just remind anyone is having a flexible relationship with change, right? That's a term that I use. Staying curious. I love that. Viewing life as a lifelong learning journey, and that it's okay to not be who you were. It's actually a good thing. It's actually a
Yeah,
good thing to evolve and grow and shift and change. And then experience joy. Make sure that your life doesn't become all toil, work,
Yeah.
hardship, find time to laugh, have fun, play, experience joy, and let your body know how that feels as well.
Mhm.
Um, and then just keep going. The last thing I heard you say is do it afraid, and
Let's
that's
do
a
it
term that
afraid.
I use. There's no perfect time, and actually, if you're feeling a little bit of fear, Iyanla says if your dreams don't make you pee on yourself a little bit, they're not big enough. But that little bit of anxiety. So fear is a good thing in this type of situation and scenario.
Mhm.
So all right.
It's
Well,
good.
thank you
It's
so
good.
much,
My
Ty. I
pleasure.
appreciate you
My
joining
pleasure.
us today.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Have a good one, y'all. We will be back next
Bye.
week. All right.